For years, the relationship between Ethiopia and Eritrea has been one of the most complex in Africa. From war to peace to cooperation during conflict, and now uncertainty again. Behind the scenes, global and regional powers, including the United States, have traditionally focused more on Ethiopia in many Horn of Africa diplomatic and security discussions. But recently, there has been growing attention on Eritrea as well, especially in connection with Red Sea security and shifting regional calculations, suggesting a more balanced and cautious approach in the region. Is Ethiopia slowly losing its leverage over Eritrea? Or is the entire balance of power in the Horn of Africa quietly shifting? This is not just a story about two countries. It's a story about influence, survival, and a region where everything is starting to change. Ethiopia and Eritrea's relationship was shaped by war, as both sides were once linked to the events that led to the fall of Ethiopia's Derg regime in 1991. Eritrea's independence in 1993 was initially welcomed, bringing brief optimism to the region. But tensions over borders and identity soon escalated into the devastating 1998-2000 war, which killed tens of thousands and left deep scars on both nations. The Algiers Agreement ended open fighting in 2000, but the border dispute remained unresolved. For nearly 2 decades, the two countries stayed locked in a cold stalemate, with closed borders and heavy military spending shaping the region's instability. Then in 2018, everything shifted. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed accepted the peace agreement, and together with Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki, signed a historic deal that reopened diplomatic relations and reconnected the two nations after years of isolation. The 2018 peace quickly became a military alliance against a shared enemy, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, or TPLF. Eritrean and Ethiopian forces joined to defeat the TPLF, but the war dragged on, exposing cracks in their partnership. As the Pretoria Peace Agreement ended the conflict without Eritrea at the table, tensions resurfaced. Ethiopia moved to reintegrate Tigray, while Eritrea hesitated, wary of a resurgent neighbor. Reports of Eritrean troops lingering in Ethiopia and rumors of interference fueled mistrust. The alliance, forged by necessity, faded as old suspicions returned. Now both sides are quietly rearming, and the open borders of 2018 are a distant memory. With the common enemy gone, rivalry has replaced cooperation once again. Leverage in international relations is more than military might. It's economic strength, diplomacy, and demographics. For years, Ethiopia was the Horn's heavyweight, a booming economy, a vast population, and a key Western ally. Addis Ababa set the regional agenda, led infrastructure projects, and hosted the African Union. Its military was among Africa's largest, projecting power across borders. Eritrea, isolated and sanctioned, was sidelined. But the Tigray War changed everything. Ethiopia's economy faltered, its reputation suffered, and its military was stretched thin. Internal turmoil eroded Ethiopia's traditional leverage, creating space for Eritrea to assert itself. The regional balance is shifting, with Ethiopia's dominance no longer assured. Power in the Horn is now up for grabs. Eritrea's foreign policy is defined by fierce independence, a legacy of its long struggle for sovereignty. President Isaias Afwerki's government rejects foreign aid and alliances, choosing isolation over dependence. Eritrea's war economy and indefinite national service are seen as necessary sacrifices for survival. This self-reliance makes Eritrea immune to the economic and diplomatic pressures that often sway other nations. Alliances are temporary, based on immediate interests, like the partnership with Ethiopia against the TPLF. Once the threat faded, so did the alliance. Eritrea's leadership is willing to endure hardship to protect its autonomy, making it unpredictable and difficult for Ethiopia to influence. Addis Ababa's usual tools, aid, diplomacy, economic incentives, have little effect. Eritrea plays by its own rules, forcing Ethiopia to adapt. In this new reality, conventional leverage simply doesn't work. The Horn of Africa has become a growing geopolitical battleground, where external powers closely watch Ethiopia and Eritrea, especially the United States and Egypt. Egypt's main concern is the Nile River and Ethiopia's Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, which Cairo sees as a long-term threat to its water security. Because of this, there have been persistent regional rumors about Egypt increasing its diplomatic engagement across the Horn, including Eritrea, although no formal alliance has been confirmed. At the same time, the United States has traditionally viewed Ethiopia as a key partner in the region, especially in counterterrorism and regional stability. However, the Tigray War strained that relationship, leading to criticism, sanctions discussions, and a more cautious U.S. approach toward Ethiopia. Now Washington is trying to balance multiple priorities at once: security interests, humanitarian concerns, and growing competition from global rivals like China and Russia in Africa. The U.S. has also called for stability and withdrawal of foreign forces from internal conflicts, while supporting peace efforts in the region, but its overall leverage is more limited than before. Meanwhile, regional actors are adjusting their strategies, sensing shifts in Ethiopia's internal and external position. In this environment, the Horn of Africa is no longer shaped by one or two powers alone. It is a crowded chessboard where every move creates ripple effects far beyond the region. And in this high-stakes game, no player can afford to be passive. Is Ethiopia losing its leverage? The answer is nuanced. Ethiopia's influence is diminished, not erased. Internal crises have forced it to turn inward, reducing its regional reach. Yet, its population, geography, and role as African Union host still make it a key player. Eritrea, emboldened by recent events, is more assertive and less easily intimidated. The old dynamic of giant versus pariah is gone. Now, two rivals shape the region's fate.